Inside the Magic, show number 414 for March 10th, 2013. It is Sunday, March 10th, 2013. This is show 414 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I am your host, Ricky Briganti. Got a lot of fun stuff coming out of the worlds of Disney and beyond this week, so we'll get to that shortly, but before we do, I invite you to visit InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news, articles, and plenty more. And if you ever have any news, tips, questions, comments, anything else you want to send in, you can always do so by writing to me at ricky@InsideTheMagic.net. Or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. We're almost out of winter and into spring, so you should be thinking about that by thinking about saving up to 30% at select Walt Disney World Resort hotels for most nights, now through March 23rd and April 2nd through June 14th. You can add a minimum 4-day Magic Your Way ticket and make it a package and get a discount on the tickets too by calling Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387 or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote, and be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive a free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And thanks very much to everybody donating to the show one time or recurring monthly or even clicking through the affiliate links, Amazon.com, etc. over on the InsideTheMagic.net website. It all supports the show, and I thank you very much for all of that. And now let's get started with the trip around the world. Pretty light news week this week, relatively speaking. Actually, there were some pretty big things happening, and we'll be talking about those a little later in the show in our main features. But other than those, it was pretty light. A lot of not very many little stories to share, so we'll jump right into those here in a moment. But first, I want to put in a mention about our YouTube channel, youtube.com/InsideTheMagic. I noticed earlier today we passed 60 million total views on our YouTube channel. That's quite the milestone. I was happy to see that. So thanks to everybody who has been watching all of our videos from the theme parks and beyond, and even the video version of this podcast, of course. So thanks to all of you. We're also just about to cross 50,000 subscribers. So if for some reason you aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel, head over there, youtube.com/InsideTheMagic. Click the little subscribe button, and then you'll automatically receive notices whenever we post a new video, so you can see all of it. And now we will move on into this week's news, starting with a follow-up on a story from last week where we were talking about a lot of news coming in from overseas, and specifically here about Hong Kong Disneyland, the fact that the Hong Kong Financial Secretary, John Tsang, said in his budget speech last week that there would be a Marvel-themed area headed for Hong Kong Disneyland. Well, I contacted Hong Kong Disneyland to see if they had anything to add, and a spokesperson got back to me and said, quote, regarding Tsang's announcement in his budget speech about Hong Kong Disneyland, our spokesman, would like to share with you that we have nothing to add at the moment. Announcement will be made when ready. End quote. So they didn't deny it. They didn't say, no, that's not happening. They just simply said, we have nothing to add. We'll let you know, basically. So it does seem like Marvel will be headed to Hong Kong Disneyland in some capacity. They're just not ready to reveal exactly what that is quite yet. Now, here's where I would normally update you on limited time magic, let you know what's coming up for the next week, but well, we got nothing. That springtime trolley show at the Magic Kingdom is still ongoing through May, and yeah, that's about it. They announced nothing for this coming week. I mean, they've been using limited time magic to promote things that aren't really sort of limited time magic. They're more just stuff that they would be doing anyway in the parks, and I'm not even going to bother mentioning those here because they're, as far as I'm concerned, they're not really sort of special happenings just for this promotion. So, got nothing this week, but hopefully something better next week, or something at all, for that matter, next week. Now, here's something that, again, I will be talking about next week for sure. Over at Epcot this week, the International Flower and Garden Festival began. It is the 20th annual festival, and there's been a lot of fun things added to the festival this year, because it's not just about topiaries and flower and garden stuff, though there are some very cool topiaries, like a big Monsters University one right at the entrance to the World Showcase Plaza. There's Mike and Sully there, which is wonderful, but Flower and Garden Festival this year is definitely not just about that, because all the way around the World Showcase there's also a lot of food, really, really yummy stuff that I had a chance to go through. I went around the World Showcase and ate my way around, and I would love to talk about that more this week. However, there's just simply not enough time to do that because I've got so much else to talk about. So I'm going to reserve that for next week's show, but if you do want to see more and read all about the food that I've sampled throughout there, head on over to InsideTheMagic.net, and there you will find plenty of pictures and write-up. So far, I haven't tried everything, so hopefully I'll go back and then we'll talk about that in next week's show. But if we move on over to the Magic Kingdom now, some exciting things are going on over there. In the area, sort of in between It's a Small World and the Haunted Mansion, that sort of transition between Fantasyland and Liberty Square, something brand new opened up just a couple of days ago in an area formerly occupied by the Skyway building, which of course sat dormant for many, many years. So that building's gone, and now there is a Tangled-themed rest area there. It's not an attraction. It's not even a meet and greet. It's really just a rest area that's very, very elaborately themed. Lots of decoration inspired by the film Tangled. You're not going to find Rapunzel there. You're not going to find Flynn Rider there, but you will find remnants that they were there at some point. Of course, the big Tangled tower, Rapunzel's tower, is in the background atop some rock work. The rocks have a wonderful waterfall coming down off of them, and then throughout the area there are, there's restrooms there that are elaborately themed to the Tangled theme. There's also lots of benches to sit on and just sit down and enjoy the atmosphere and relax. And there's something Disney's calling a D-Zone, or they're calling it the whole area a D-Zone, and it has outlets, power outlets, where you can charge your devices. Bring your cell phone charger, your iPad charger, whatever electronics device you have, video cameras, still cameras, and Disney is allowing you to sit there comfortably and charge up your devices. So that's a first for the Magic Kingdom. Also, there are some fun little things to look for throughout the area, including some hidden Pascals, which of course is the little chameleon that is Rapunzel's friend in Tangled. If you head on over to InsideTheMagic.net, you can see some pictures and video of that area, and we'll see if in the future Rapunzel and Flynn Rider show up for meet and greets. But for now, it is just a rest area, and it definitely has changed the landscape of the area over there. It has expanded Fantasyland even further, and there's now this whole new pathway next to the Haunted Mansion, which is really bizarre to have it open over there, where there formerly was just a wall and some trees, kind of where Madame Leota's cart once was. The cart seems to have disappeared for the moment, but I'm sure that will return eventually. Now, of course, we talked extensively about Cars Land when it opened last year, and the cozy cone and the special drinks they were serving there. Well, now it appears a little bit of that cone theme, some of their cone concoctions, if you will. Yeah, I know. The bad puns, are headed over to Epcot, or already have, because now there are drinking cones available with the Test Track theme around it. Of course, that makes perfect sense. Test Track is all themed about cars, and the cones are now sort of a dark blue color with a Test Track design around it, and there's no special drink, at least as of the moment, that you can get there. It seems to be just the regular slushies, cherry and Coke and that kind of thing. I think they're like $9 to get it with the cone cup. But those of you clamoring for a cone out here in Florida can now get it at Epcot as well. Let's move over to Universal Orlando, where this week a hint of Transformers The Ride 3D finally opened. The ride itself, not open yet. There is no official opening date for it yet, other than to say it's coming this summer. However, the show building pretty much looks done on the outside. It's this big gray box right in the middle of the park with all kinds of military-looking writing all over it, and certainly plenty of Autobot symbols, and lots of it's just a big gray building with all kinds of like industrial look to it. And that is going to house Transformers The Ride 3D. But what did open this week is the Supply Vault store. That is the gift shop for Transformers The Ride 3D. A lot of the same merchandise, in fact, pretty much exactly the same merchandise that they're selling out at Universal Studios Hollywood. A lot of it even says Universal Studios Hollywood on it for now. I'm sure Orlando will be getting some exclusive merchandise of its own as we get closer and closer to whenever it's going to open the ride, that is this summer. But there's certainly plenty of amusing apparel and lots of good Autobot and Decepticon stuff throughout there. Also, with the debut of the Supply Vault store, there were a couple of special guests that came walking out, none other than Optimus Prime and Bumblebee. And they, of course, have been meeting and greeting with guests at Universal Studios Hollywood for many, many months now. They were there at Universal Studios here in Florida when Universal officially announced about 4 months ago that Transformers was coming here. However, Optimus Prime did something quite unexpected when he first came out here. Let's listen in.
Autobots, roll out!
That's right. Our version of Optimus Prime in the meet and greet here actually speaks, which is something new. It's not an interactive conversation, unfortunately. You can't talk back and forth with Optimus Prime, but every once in a while he'll say something like what you just heard. So that's kind of fun. You can head on over to InsideTheMagic.net to see lots of photos throughout the store and of the pair of them. Unfortunately, Megatron has not made an appearance yet here at Universal Orlando, but hopefully as the opening date, whenever that is, shows up, we'll see Megatron show up. And also, I was out at Universal last night to check out Mardi Gras, which for the first time this year, always a fun evening of entertainment for that celebration. And while I was there, I made a trip around the lagoon there and spotted Springfield from The Simpsons is definitely coming together very nicely. I haven't mentioned this much here on the show, but of course there's the Simpsons ride at Universal Orlando, at Universal Studios Florida. There's the Quickie Mart store, and next to that, Universal is building more of Springfield. It's pretty clear, although they haven't officially announced it, that one of the buildings that just got a fresh coat of paint either yesterday or the day before, very recently, is going to be Moe's Tavern. Hopefully they'll be serving maybe the Flaming Moe, maybe some Duff beer. I don't know. We'll see what they're going to be serving inside, but it's definitely taking shape. And next door to that, a building that very much looks like Krusty Burger. So this is kind of following suit with everything else that's been going on since the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, building more than just attractions, well, more than just rides, I should say, adding to it more of an extensive land. So this is basically going to become a little Springfield land surrounding, or to the right of the Simpsons ride. Again, Universal hasn't officially announced any of this, but it's pretty clear looking at what those buildings are, that is what is going in there. There's even another building to the right of Krusty Burger that nobody's quite sure what that's going to be yet. We'll see, but looking forward to that. Of course, there's no opening date for any of that either. Over at Legoland in California, actually, and this is something that will eventually come to Legoland, Florida, but it just opened a couple of days ago. The Lego Legends of Chima 4D movie experience is now open at Legoland, California. It has been said that the same 4D movie will be coming to the Florida Legoland at some point in the future, but it's not there quite yet. Now, in the world of television, Disney XD has announced premiere dates for a couple of new animated series from the Marvel universe. Marvel's Avengers Assemble will have a sneak preview on Sunday, May 26th, and then will officially debut on Sunday, July 7th. Marvel's Hulk and the Agents of Smash will debut on Sunday, August 11th, and both of those shows will be at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And the rest of this week's news, short of the main features that we'll be having coming up shortly here, come from the Disney annual shareholders meeting, which took place this past Wednesday. And here I've just got some sort of notes to go over about things that took place during the shareholders meeting. Nothing terribly exciting, nothing, really amusing or crazy or fun, but there were definitely things worth mentioning here. Bob Iger, CEO and chairman of Disney, began the meeting by talking a lot about sort of projects and things that are going on in the world of Disney lately. He mentioned the acquisition of Lucasfilm, of course, that the Star Wars universe has over 17,000 characters. He made a point to mention that number, and I remember when he was talking about the acquisition of Marvel. When that happened a few years ago, he mentioned that there were somewhere around 5,000 Marvel characters. So Star Wars has 12,000 more or so characters than Marvel did, and who knows what Disney's going to do with all of these characters. There's certainly lots of very minor characters amidst that number, but 17,000, that's a pretty big number. Iger mentioned about New Fantasyland that the response from guests has been overwhelmingly positive, that he had a chance to try out My Magic Plus and the RFID Magic Band wristbands that are coming here, and thought all of that worked out very well. That, of course, is still coming soon to Walt Disney World. He mentioned that the My Magic Plus, the Magic Band system, would also work with bus tickets, and I have to assume that he meant something about Magical Express, but I hadn't heard anything about that before, so a little bit of a tidbit there. Bob Iger also showed shareholders in attendance at the meeting a new picture of Shanghai Disneyland. It was actually a 3D model that Imagineers have put together. Now, Iger didn't go too far into detailing the park. They said he couldn't reveal everything about Shanghai yet, but definitely showed off a model of the biggest ever theme park castle that Disney is currently building. Enchanted Storybook Castle is the name of it. Disney has previewed it before, but this is the best look at it that we've seen so far in this model. It's ginormous. It's going to actually have a ride inside if plans are still going as to what we heard at the D23 Expo a couple of years ago. But not much else is known about Shanghai Disneyland, but you can sort of get a good idea of the layout of it from this 3D model. There's no Main Street USA. Instead, there's going to be an approach through an 11-acre garden and water area, which is certainly unique. It seems that to the right, there will be a carousel. To the left of the hub, there will be a Dumbo the Flying Elephant, and the model also shows a large Christmas tree near the hub. And looking very, very close to the entrance of the park is a statue of Walt and Mickey that greatly resembles the Storyteller statue that appeared at Disney California Adventure on Buena Vista Street last year. So interesting that they're considering replicating that statue for Shanghai Disneyland, which will be opening as part of the Shanghai Disney Resort in late 2015. It'll also include 2 themed hotels, a bunch of dining and entertainment, and more. So a lot being constructed there. Continuing with the shareholders meeting, Bob Iger mentioned that Disney has surpassed their goal of hiring 1,000 military veterans so quickly that they're actually increasing their goal to another 1,000 in the next 2 years, which is great. Moving on into the question and answer portion, which is usually pretty entertaining and amusing. This year, the questions were not spectacular, but one shareholder did ask about the introduction of Starbucks into the parks, and Iger basically said one of their biggest criticisms that Disney's had over the years in the parks is their poor coffee, as he put it. So they look to Starbucks to improve that. Also, a shareholder mentioned a widespread distrust, as he put it, in American media in general, but specifically ABC News and ESPN, asking Disney to, quote, start playing it straight. Iger's response was very candid, surprisingly honest. He said that they have been guilty of making mistakes. He admitted that they have reported some, quote, slightly inaccurate news. And overall, he feels they've done a good job and that they'll certainly work on improving that for the future. Another shareholder asked about plans for Oswald the Lucky Rabbit in the future. Iger said there was no animation work that he knew of that was going on with Oswald. Of course, he was in Epic Mickey 1 and 2, Oswald was, but that's about it. Furthering that topic, somebody asked about just hand-drawn animation in general, 2D animation. Iger said, quote, to my knowledge, we're not developing a 2D or hand-drawn animated feature right now, end quote. but he did go on to say that Disney is a big company and there are things that are going on that he's not aware of, so left it a little bit vague there. Finally, the last question of the shareholders meeting was very telling. An 8-year-old kid said this was his 6th shareholder meeting. That's 6 out of 8 years that he's been alive. He's been to shareholder meetings. That's pretty good. And in a back and forth conversation, the kid mentioned that Cars 2 is his favorite Disney movie and wants to see a Cars 3. So anybody out there wondering why is there so much cars in this world? Why is there a Cars Land? Why is there so much, emphasis on Mater, etc.? Well, this is why, because an 8-year-old kid loves Cars 2. It's his favorite movie. Of course, it's also one of the most recent movies. It's probably easy to say that a recent movie is a favorite, but that aside, the kid loves cars, and many kids love cars, and this is why there is so much Cars out there. That's why there's billions of dollars of merchandise being sold, and I'm feeling the Cars franchise is not coming to a close anytime soon. And that's it for news from around the world this week. This week's tip comes in from Ollie, who writes, wanted to share a tip I use at the parks primarily for water. The night before you go to the parks, fill up a bottle about 1/2 to 3/4 full of water and put it in the freezer. Then in the morning, fill the rest with regular water. This will keep the water cold throughout the day without having to wait a long time to thaw, if you froze the whole bottle, that is. There are a few proper water dispensers throughout Disneyland and Walt Disney World, so you can keep it refilled without having to wait in line at the food places. You could even put slices of fruit in there. I like putting slices of fresh oranges and cucumbers in my water bottle, and it helps take the taste of the tap water out of the standard water. Ollie, good tip. Always good to have cold water handy, and you can certainly get water at any food beverage location throughout any of the counter service locations reasonably quickly, but to have it handy and have it cold on you, just let it slowly melt throughout the day is certainly a good idea. Of course, in the summer it would be melting rather quickly, but it's in a bottle, so then you just drink it. That's the whole point. Everybody else out there, email your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net. And now, before we get into feature number 1 this week, I want to put in a word about capturing magic. The pair of iPhone apps that are the ultimate tool for documenting and recording the magic of your Disney vacation, whether you're out here in Florida at Walt Disney World or you're in Anaheim in California at Disneyland. The Capturing Magic apps offer you a helpful list of photo opportunities and memories to capture before, during, and after your trip. It is the perfect way to ensure that you don't miss a magical moment while you're in the parks. The app's actually going to remind you of your desired photo ops whenever you're near those locations, and whenever you take a photo, you can use the app to mark off who's in the picture, what camera you took it with, and then later you can easily find, export, and organize those photos, and you can even email yourself a list of all the pictures you took during your trip. So the Capturing Magic iPhone apps are available now in the iTunes App Store.
Action!
Inside the Magic is proud to welcome you to the Great Movie Review.
For your young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking pan.
Just released to theaters a couple of days ago is Oz the Great and Powerful, the prequel, if you will, to The Wizard of Oz from so many years ago, starring James Franco in the leading role of the Wizard, and directed by Sam Raimi, score by Danny Elfman, and I had a chance to see it actually, gosh, it must be 2 weeks ago now, but I wasn't actually allowed to talk about it until now, until it actually hit theaters, so here I am to offer my thoughts, spoiler-free, of course, on Oz the Great and Powerful. Actually, before I get into my review of the film, let me put in a few notes about the movie. In promotion of the film, Disney was going on a nationwide Oz the Great and Powerful hot air balloon tour culminating in Central Park, and last week, that balloon, well, it landed on a fountain. in Central Park. While Good Morning America's Sam Champion was on board, fortunately it was only about 10 to 20 feet up when the balloon started coming down. There was a big hole ripped in the balloon, and it kind of put a damper on the whole thing. And everybody, of course, was wondering, is this a sign of things to come? Does that mean the movie is going to suffer a fate as bad as the balloon did in this promotion? Well, no, that didn't end up happening. In fact, this weekend, opening weekend, Oz the Great and Powerful has done very well. $80.3 million opening weekend, debuting at number 1. Some were saying, Oz is going to be another John Carter, but no, not even remotely close. In fact, John Carter, which was a miserable failure for Disney, that movie only made a total of $73 million domestically, in the U.S. at the box office. So Oz the Great and Powerful has topped John Carter's entire domestic run with one single weekend. So that's pretty good. It was, in fact, the same weekend this year versus last year that Oz opened versus John Carter. Now, a year prior to that, Alice in Wonderland opened, which is the film that everybody's been comparing Oz the Great and Powerful to because of its look, the oversaturated colors, etc., etc. Some of the same people worked on both films. Alice in Wonderland did better, about $30 million better on that opening weekend. However, 80.3, not a bad number to begin with for Oz the Great and Powerful. In fact, a little bit more promotion for the film just a few days ago. Oz the Great and Powerful's star James Franco received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame just around the corner from the El Capitan Theater, Disney's El Capitan Theater. So it seems that the Hollywood Walk of Fame has now become a promotional tool for Disney, maybe not so much an honor. I mean, the star is going to stay there, and James Franco, I'm sure, is very proud of it, but it was just in time for the release of Oz the Great and Powerful by no coincidence, I'm sure. One other note here before I actually get into my review of the film. If you haven't seen an interview from a guy from BBC Radio where he talked during a press junket to Mila Kunis, this video has almost 10 million views on YouTube. This interview is hilarious because he goes just totally off topic. He's talking about anything but Oz the Great and Powerful, and she's loving it because in those press junkets where the actors, the stars of the film are sitting there all day answering the same questions over and over and over from journalists, it's refreshing for her to hear somebody who, I think this was his first celebrity interview, ever. And so to have somebody just kind of rambling on and on about soccer games or football games, etc., going and drinking at pubs and blah, 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 it's just wonderful. So you go seek out that video on YouTube if you haven't seen it. Anyway, so on to my actual review of Oz the Great and Powerful. Of course, this film basically telling the origin story of that wonderful wizard that most know from the 1939 classic MGM film, The Wizard of Oz, though the L. Frank Baum books certainly predate that, and many are up in arms saying, well, this new movie doesn't really so much go by the books as sort of getting inspired by the film. And you know what? Most people have seen, almost everybody on this planet has seen The Wizard of Oz, the film. Certainly not nearly as many people have read the books. The book's very popular, but not nearly as many. So I can certainly understand the inspiration and sort of the playing off of the original film to take this new one in the direction that it went. Director Sam Raimi certainly integrates his own style into Oz the Great and Powerful, which overall the movie is good, not great, but it's good. It's a little meandering. It starts off strong, it ends pretty strong. The middle kind of just wanders here and there, and you kind of lose focus. There's a cast of largely young actors in this film. Of course, James Franco, the lead, plays Oscar Oz Diggs. He's a circus magician, a self-proclaimed con man, and of course finds his way into the world of Oz, the land of Oz, I suppose I should say. There are witches involved once everybody gets there. Of course, there's good witches and there's bad witches and wicked witches, and unfortunately throughout that journey, Franco's acting is never really spot on. It's a lot of overacting, a lot of underacting, a lot of you don't really care about him acting, but I never really found his appearance to be all that spectacular. Michelle Williams does a good job in her role as Glinda, the Good Witch. Of course, that's no surprise to anyone. It's not a spoiler. That's her role, and that's a witch familiar to anybody who has seen the original Wizard of Oz. Rachel Weisz plays Evanora. and Mila Kunis plays Evanora's the sister Theodora. And somewhere in the midst of all of that is the Wicked Witch, the green-faced Wicked Witch from the original Wizard of Oz. Now, I don't want to spoil how that Wicked Witch comes about in the film. Who is the Wicked Witch? It's Disney hasn't exactly been keeping it a secret, but if you haven't paid attention to any of it and you don't know, then it's good. There is a transformation that takes place, and it's a noteworthy moment in the film. It's one of the best moments in the film, actually. Of course, the Wicked Witch, a familiar sort of skin color, green with black wardrobe and a great screeching voice. But overall, the performance of the Wicked Witch, I wouldn't say is as memorable or as classic as Margaret Hamilton's from the Wizard of Oz decades ago. The comparisons between Oz the Great and Powerful and Alice in Wonderland, Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, really on the surface only. Sort of the look of the film at times has that Alice in Wonderland look, where it's very oversaturated. This sort of CG world. Fortunately, there are enough real world sets in this film. Not a lot, but there are some in there that really make it more real than Alice in Wonderland really ever was. Of course, like the original Wizard of Oz, and like the trailers for Oz the Great and Powerful, this film begins in black and white, transitions to color, which is a fun moment. It also has a great use of 3D. Some might call it gimmicky, too gimmicky. It's almost like a 4D movie that you would see in theme parks. A lot of, breaking that fourth wall, going outside the aspect ratio with things popping out of the screen. The movie starts in a 4:3 aspect ratio and changes aspect ratio a few times actually during the film. There's flying storm debris and floating bubbles and other stuff that seems to pop out of the film. So if you like that kind of thing, if you're looking for more of the interactive sort of in your face, I guess I should say 3D, then this works well in that area, or you might just think that's silly. As far as Sam Raimi goes as director, of course, he directed a lot of great movies. Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and all of that really shows through in this film. In fact, it seems like Raimi even wanted to take it further, and Disney had to, sort of rein him back a little bit. Lots of fast-moving shots and zooms and pans and close-ups, and during the witch battles that take place in there's definitely some Army of Darkness kind of moments, which are a lot of fun. Of course, Bruce Campbell and Ted Raimi make cameo appearances. You'll really have to look for them, but they're in there. And there are plenty of references to the original Wizard of Oz. Lots of references. In fact, more than I could possibly even rattle off here. Dorothy's famous dress and the Scarecrow and the man behind the curtain and the Munchkins and, a lot of things that definitely go straight back to the original film, but without, staying on them too long. Just a lot of quick moments that you'll be like, oh, yeah, I get it. The new film, Oz the Great and Powerful, not a musical. And I feel like Elfman's music, which you're hearing a bit of here in the background, is underused. Danny Elfman's a wonderful composer, and I think had they let him really kind of go crazy with it, like he often does with Tim Burton's films, really could have been a phenomenal score. Instead, it kind of is just background for the most part, though there are some moments where it's very, very prominent and enjoyable. So overall, Oz the Great and Powerful, it kind of flounders around in the middle. In fact, it flounders around a lot in the middle. There's a point where I was just like, oh, what is going on? Where's this movie going? But it eventually moves past that, and as I said earlier, it's a good beginning, a good end, and if you can kind of look past the bad acting, the poor performances, especially by James Franco, there is a good movie in there somewhere. It didn't quite reach any kind of greatness by any means, but it's good. I wouldn't necessarily recommend running out to theaters to see it, but if you're a big fan of The Wizard of Oz, you might enjoy this more than somebody who really doesn't care about that whole universe, and otherwise maybe you could just catch it at home. So a rather sort of middle-of-the-road review here for Disney's newest film, Oz the Great and Powerful, in theaters now. And now, before we get into a much, much larger and more exciting main feature here, let me put in one more word here, this time about Lanyard Lab. This is the place where you want to go, actually the website where you want to go, lanyardlab.com, if you're in need of custom lanyards. It's where you can design your own by clicking on Get a Quote, fill out all the information there, whatever text, logos, colors, anything you want to have on the lanyards to hang around your neck for use with a name tag, ID card, promotional use, lots and lots of uses for lanyards. Submit that to us from the website. We'll email you back with a price quote along with the proof showing you what your lanyard will look like. Your design all over it on the screen. And if you like what you see, you can just buy it online, or you can make any changes that you want because it is completely free to preview, no obligation to purchase whatsoever. So check it out over at lanyardlab.com. Now, this week, the biggest story that I didn't mention at the top of the show is the opening, or almost opening, the preview, if you will, of Fantasy Faire out at Disneyland. It actually opens just a few days from now. Tuesday, March 12th is the official opening, but they've had lots of soft openings, a preview that we were invited to, as well as some annual pass holder previews. So lots of people have already seen Fantasy Faire. This is the new area located just to the left of Sleeping Beauty Castle, taking over for the old Carnation Plaza Gardens and really extending Fantasyland to feature even more kind of Disney princess fun in the park. So I sent Paul Berry from A Window to the Magic, as well as his wife Terry, to cover it for us, and I want to talk about it pretty extensively here, tell you about everything that's new in Fantasyland, share a couple of interviews, and even some really entertaining, entertainment from within Fantasy Faire. Fantasy Faire includes, it's a whole new area. It, is an area that very much matches the existing Fantasyland. Within several buildings that have sort of that German look to them are also a big stone Rapunzel's tower. There is a Figaro audio animatronic figure, and I'm just going through this real quick now. We'll get more in depth in this in just a minute. There's also something called Clopin's Music Box, which is a rare appearance of something from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, so anybody who's a fan of that film will be excited about that. There's the Royal Hall, which is the new home for Disney princesses for meet and greets at Disneyland, an interior location which is nice. There is the Royal Theater, which is the direct replacement of Carnation Plaza Gardens in the exact same spot, using the same sort of basic setup, but making it over into a place for a couple of storytelling shows. First, with some Fantasy Faire maidens that can entertain kids before show times, and then ultimately there are two different shows, one themed to Tangled/Rapunzel, and the other starring Belle for Beauty and the Beast. Of course, also in Fantasy Faire, there is a selection of unique foods and drinks and food. Anyway. And also a store, of course, where you can buy all kinds of princessy stuff. So that's my very, very quick sort of summary of what Fantasy Faire is. But a better summary is offered by Imagineer Michel den Dulk. As I said earlier, sent Paul and Terry out there to cover the sneak preview of Fantasyland. So now I want to hop over right in the midst of that, standing in Fantasy Faire to talk, to have Terry talk with Imagineer Michel den Dulk.
I am Michel den Dulk, and I'm the creative director for WDI on Fantasy Faire.
Great. Fantasy Faire actually features many different Disney films. How would you summarize that?
Well, I really looked at the original 1983 Fantasyland for this project, and I noticed that a lot of Fantasyland is in neutral looking buildings. So there's all these kind of Bavarian architecture, but within that architecture there's Snow White and there's Peter Pan, which takes place in London and not in Germany. So I thought Fantasy Faire should have kind of the same feeling. So it's a neutral Fantasyland setting, but within those there's references to different Disney movies.
Okay. How do you hope the guests will react upon stepping into Fantasy Faire for the first time?
Well, of course, I hope they will be really excited about it. I think the view when you come off the new bridge that we built that kind of comes off the hub, I think the view from there is really great. You have a great panorama, and I hope that people will be excited and charmed by this new area.
That's great. I do have two more for you. What does Fantasy Faire add to Disneyland that wasn't really there before?
I think what it adds is a really immersive way to greet our princesses. it's also really an extension of Fantasyland. So Fantasyland got bigger as well. But just the immersiveness of this project and the way people can interact and meet their famous Disney princesses and characters, I think, is something new to Disneyland.
And finally, I have one more for you, Michel. What, if any, has there been any scuttlebutt or talk about swing dancing?
We created a pavilion that is ready for multiple use. During the day, of course, we will have the great shows with Rapunzel and Belle, but who knows, the pavilion can also be used for other events, and I'm sure that the park has lots of ideas for that.
Indeed, we'll hear, or you can hear more about sort of those same topics from show director Christopher Utley as well if you head on over to InsideTheMagic.net for a further interview. I want to switch gears a little bit here for a different interview topic completely, talking to sous chef Ralph Perez about the unique food and drinks within Fantasy Faire.
Ralph Perez, sous chef at Fantasyland.
Wonderful. Could you quickly summarize the new food and drink offerings here in Fantasy Faire for us?
Yeah, we have the drink is a Poison Apple Freeze. What it is a frozen apple juice with a wild berry flavoring and a passion fruit mango foam on top. And we built it so you could drink it without a straw, so you get all the flavors at one time and you get the nice passion fruit at the beginning. Also, we have a garlic cheddar twist. What is a bagel? I wouldn't say braided, but it's like 2 layers twisted, and it has the cheddar cheese and the roasted garlic in it. Also, we have two of the sweet twists, which is the chocolate and strawberry twist, both with powdered sugar on top.
You brought up something interesting with the drink. What is the new fascination with Disney and doing fruit drinks topped with foam?
I don't think it's just Disney. Actually, in the food industry and the restaurants, foams are really big right now. They came in a couple years ago. A lot of chefs are making foams, and they just become really trendy and really popular. So, we try to stay on top of trends, and that's what's happening now.
Fair enough. And finally, how do the unique items here in Fantasy Faire, how do you think they're going to enhance the individuality of Fantasy Faire in Disneyland?
Well, we're the only ones that will be offering these items. The Bagel Twist, I actually haven't seen anything like it around. I mean, you go get a bagel, there's a cheddar garlic in this twist and make it kind of look like a wand form. It's pretty unique, and also with the sweet pastries. I know in the park we have the churros, but this is something that looks and it has the shape of the churro, but is completely different. So as far as Fantasy Faire, I think we'll stand out a little bit.
So there you go, a little bit about what Fantasy Faire is, and more specifically the food that's involved there as well, which is something everybody's always looking forward to here. Now I'm going to invite Paul here on the show to talk about his thoughts while walking through, because of course I didn't actually have a chance to go through Fantasy Faire since I'm out here in Florida. But before we get to his thoughts on the new area and kind of go step by step through everything, I want to bring you something really fun from there, going over to the Royal Theater. There are 2 shows, as I said. There's a new Rapunzel show, a Tangled show. There's also a new Beauty and the Beast show starring Belle and other characters. Now, these are done in a very unique style. They're not your ordinary show. They're kind of told through what Disney is liking to call some sort of vaudeville, Renaissance vaudevillian type performers. It's Mr. Smythe and Mr. Jones. And really it's taking a step sort of after the fact. This is not pretending as if the story is taking place in front of you, but rather they are telling the story of these movies or characters or, stories in the past tense, and inviting the characters from the stories on stage to help tell those stories. It's I know it sounds confusing as I'm saying it, but it makes much more sense. So I want to feature the entire Rapunzel show here because that's the more unique of the two, of course, because Disney has yet to feature a whole show in a theme park until now about Rapunzel and Tangled. There's little snippets on the Disney Cruise Line where they've performed some songs, but this is really the first time that Rapunzel has made it into the Disney theme parks in an actual show. So that's worth noting there. It's about a 15-minute show. If you don't want to spoil it and you want to see it for yourself at Disneyland for the first time, go ahead and jump ahead 15 15 minutes here because that's when Paul's going to be joining me to talk even more Fantasy Fair. But right now, let's hop back on over to Fantasy Fair in the Royal Theatre to enjoy the Tangled show.
And now, lords and ladies, good gentles all, please welcome those loquacious lovers of legends and lore. Those versatile viscounts of voluminous verbosity. As they portray a panoply of personalities under this preeminent proscenium. Please welcome Mr. Smythe and Mr. Jones.
I'm Mr. Smythe and I'm Mr. Jones. And how is each and everybody doing today? Welcome to the theater, the famous Royal Theater. And while we're in the theater, I say let's do a play using our imagination as well as good enunciation. Together we will be creating a creation that will take your breath away. For all the world is a stage, my friend. Attend and hark if you've an ear to lend. We're gonna tell a tale with once upon a time at the start, and there's a happily ever after at the end. Say, Mr. Smythe.
Yes, Mr. Joe?
What story shall we players play today?
Well, today we shall render upon these boards an adventure most hair-raising.
Ah, well said, Mr. Smythe. For today we tell the timeless tale of Tangled! It's a very special tale of a very special girl. She's full of hopes and dreams, a little something like you. And if she puts some work into it, makes her mind up to pursue it, she can make her wish come true. And baby, I'll be what to do. With imagination, some courage and determination, if she can conquer all her fears and trepidation, then she just might make it. For all the world is a stage, my friend. Attend and hark if you've an ear to lend. And here's one thing on which you can depend. We're gonna make a little magic if you all do your part. We will create a little chronicle of courage and heart. We're gonna tell a tale with once upon a time at the start. And there's a happy ever after at the end. Happily ever after at the end.
Thank you!
Thank you!
Thank you very much.
Thank you!
For joining us today, we have two special visitors.
We do?
Yes.
Two special visitors.
Yes.
Who's on first?
A young lady with golden locks.
Oh, Goldilocks and her 3 dancing bears.
No, we don't have 3 dancing bears.
Only 2?
No.
Just 1.
No, there is no dancing bears.
Oh, lords and ladies, presenting Goldilocks with no dancing bears.
Now, listen, you.
No,
wait a
oh,
minute.
hey, look. There's the dancing bears. There's a mama, there's a papa, there's the baby.
No, there
there's
are no
the baby
dancing
bear.
bears, and there's no Goldilocks.
You said a young lady with golden locks.
Yes, Rapunzel.
Rapunzel doesn't have any dancing bears.
No, she's the first guest.
The first guest.
Yes.
Who's on second?
That is the question.
No, I can't wait.
Lords and ladies, please give a royal round of applause to our first royal visitor. The one,
The only.
the one and only Rapunzel!
Princess Rapunzel, we are honored to be in your presence.
And we are most delighted that you accepted our invitation to join us in a live performance of your story.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Well, after all, who better to help tell the story of Rapunzel than Rapunzel?
This is going to be such an adventure.
Now remember, we are here to assist you in any way we can. Should you wish to know where to stand, we shall show you.
Should you want to know what to say, we shall tell you.
Should you wish to recognize one of us for most outstanding performance by a player in a leading role, drama, or comedy, we shall kneel before you in humble gratitude.
I'm sure you'll both be wonderful.
Very well then.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Well then let the play begin. Once upon a time, named Rapunzel,
Who lived at the top of a tall, tall tower.
From the time I was just a baby, my mother never allowed me to go outside.
each day as Rapunzel gazed out her tower window, she wondered when would her life begin.
My dream was to see the floating lanterns that appeared in the night sky every year on my birthday.
But today, like every other day, Rapunzel's daydreams were interrupted by the sound of a familiar voice.
Rapunzel!
Mother Gothel?
Let down your hair!
Oh, let me undo that for you.
Wait a minute. You have no idea how long it takes to braid this.
Oh, of course. Stunt hair, please!
What's that?
It's a theatrical representation of your hair.
Oh, I love the theater.
Rapunzel! I'm waiting!
Obediently, Rapunzel lowered her hair so that Mother Gothel could easily ascend the steep.
Apple dearie.
It should be noted by all in attendance that Mother Gothel was not Rapunzel's real mother.
That's right. I was kidnapped by Mother Gothel when I was just a baby.
And why was Rapunzel kidnapped?
Oh!
Mr. Jones!
Because of her magic hair!
Yes, which takes Mother Gothel.
The fairest of them all.
Fine.
It makes me
Fine.
Right, all right. Rapunzel, ooh.
Princess?
Rapunzel, Mummy's feeling a bit run down. Why don't you let me brush your hair while Mr. Smythe sings your magic song?
Flower, gleam and glow.
Whenever I sing
Let
the
your
magic song,
power shine.
my hair began to shimmer
Make
and
the
glow.
clock
And when it
reverse.
glowed, it kept Mother Gothel young with its
was
special
mine.
healing power.
As Gothel brushed the enchanted hair, the years melted away like sands through the hourglass. Thus were the days of our lives. Rapunzel. Ooh. Rapunzel, be a dear and fetch my mirror. Do you know what I see? I see a strong, confident, beautiful young lady. Oh, look, you're here too. Realizing this might be her last opportunity, Rapunzel summoned up the courage to ask.
Mother, I was wondering, since it's my birthday tomorrow, would you please take me to see the floating lanterns? It's my only birthday wish.
Absolutely not, Rapunzel! Assemble. Flower, gleam and glow, let your power shine, make the clock reverse, bring back what once was mine. Poof. Rapunzel, the world is a dangerous place filled with ruffians and thugs, and that is why I keep you locked up here, in this beautiful tower. Oh, sorry, sorry, Sir Samuel. Flower, glow, power, shine, clock reverse, once was mine. Poof. Rapunzel, for your own safety, you shall never, ever, ever leave this tower, ever! Trust me, Rapunzel. Mommy knows best. Rapunzel was determined to see the floating lantern, so she did what any imprisoned 18-year-old girl would do. She packed up a frying pan and headed for the window. As she looked out the window, she saw a young man climbing the tower.
A stranger.
As the young fellow hauled himself into her tower room... Lords and ladies, a hearty huzzah for Flynn Rider! Quickly, Rapunzel did what any imprisoned 18-year-old girl who had just knocked out a climbing stranger would do. After that, she went through his belongings, found a royal crown, and hid it.
Now surely I can convince him to take me to see the floating lantern.
What Rapunzel didn't realize was the crown was stolen. Flynn was a wanted man.
Look, Blondie, there's no way that I will ever take you to see the floating... Okay. I'll take you to see the lanterns. Anything to get that crown back.
And so Rapunzel let down her hair. And down the tower they climbed.
Okay, well this isn't weird. Climbing down hair.
As they descended the steep tower wall, the stranger introduced himself as...
Flynn Rider.
And before Rapunzel could say...
Holy hairbrush, Flynn!
Their feet were on the ground and they were off and running on their new adventure.
I can't believe I did this! This is so fun! I just hope we don't run into any ruffians or thugs.
Hoping to end this adventure as quickly as possible,
And to avoid being arrested by the royal guards, Flynn said, "Hey, are you hungry? I know a great place for lunch."
and thus he led the way to the Snuggly Duckling Tavern. Which, as it turns out, was filled with ruffians and thugs. Hello.
Wow. Look at this bunch. This is a mean-looking group of ruffians and thugs. Look at that one. Never trust a guy with a milk mustache. Oh, and look at that one. I think I see the kingdom's most wanted. He's standing right over there. Yeah. He's got the dress on. It's a disguise. Don't trust him. You know what? I think it would be a lot safer if we just turned you around and got you home. What do you say, Blondie? Let's head back to your tower and grab that crown, okay?
Are you Flynn Rider?
Do I look like Flynn Rider?
Hey, what do you think? Does he look like Flynn Rider? There. Fair enough, get him!
Wait. Give me back my stranger. I need him to take me to see the floating lanterns. It's my dream. Don't any of you have a dream?
I had a dream once. I've got a dream. I've got a dream. See, I ain't as cruel and vicious as I seem. Though I do like breaking femurs, you can count me with the dreamers. Like everybody else, I've got a dream.
Aye, I've got a dream too.
Well, take it away, fellow ruffian.
Oh, I've got scars and bumps and bruises, and something here that oozes. And let's not even mention my complexion. But despite my extra toes and my goiter and my nose, I really want to make a love connection.
He's got a dream.
He's got a dream.
I've got a dream.
She's got a dream.
I just want to see the floating lanterns gleam.
With every passing hour, she's so glad she left her tower. Like all you lovely folks, she's got a dream. Yes, way down deep inside, she's got a dream. Yeah!
It's me. It's still me. Suddenly, out of nowhere, came a brand new character that nobody had ever seen before.
Well, I've seen him. It's Maximus, a horse of the Royal Guard, and he's after me.
Follow me. There's a secret passage. They ran from Maximus through a twisting and turning cave.
I broke out into the sunlight only to realize.
Look out! We were standing on the edge of a precipitous cliff.
A towering reservoir on one
A
side.
deep chasm on the other. Thinking quickly, Rapunzel tossed her hair across the chasm, where it latched onto a wooden beam.
Flynn, follow me.
But it was too late. Flynn was trapped and Maximus was on him. Sword drawn.
Seriously?
What? I'm sorry, I'm a little hoarse. Suddenly, with a quick parry and thrust, Maximus knocked the frying pan out of Flynn's hand.
That's not good.
Flynn, catch.
I got it! Oh, and thus, Flynn was able to join Rapunzel in safety. Huzzah!
However, the victory was short-lived, for Maximus kicked his hooves against the reservoir. Hoof chap! Releasing a flood of water!
Rapunzel and Flynn found themselves trapped in a cave, too dark to see their way out, with the water level rising.
I never should have left the tower. This is all my fault, Flynn.
Eugene.
What?
My real name is Eugene Fitzherbert. Someone might as well know.
I have magic hair that glows when I sing.
What?
I have magic hair that glows when I sing.
Flower gleam and glow, let your power shine.
Rapunzel's hair illuminated the water with its magic light, and that light let them out of the cave. Huzzah! Lords and ladies, the backside of water!
Hey! Once on dry land, Flynn kept his promise to take Rapunzel to see the floating lanterns.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Where's the boat?
Oh, what boat?
We were in a boat.
She's right. We were definitely in a boat.
We don't have a boat.
Oh, it was so romantic. You can't leave that part out.
Ooh, what is that?
It's a theatrical representation of our boat.
Oh, I love the theater.
Sir Samuel?
Every year on this day, the king and queen release the lanterns in honor of their lost daughter.
They're so beautiful.
And as the sky filled with the lantern's warm glow,
I realized
I was falling in love.
and at last I see the light, and it's like the fog has lifted, and at last I see the light, and it's like the sky is new, and it's warm and real and bright, and the world has somehow shifted. All at once, everything is different. Now that I see, now that I see.
What is this picture?
it's a symbol of the royal family. The king, the queen, the missing princess.
The missing princess. The missing princess. Eugene, I have to go.
As quickly as she could, Rapunzel raced back to the tower.
Rapunzel, where are you going?
Rapunzel, where have you been?
Out there, discovering who I really am. I'm the missing princess.
Well, bravo! You figured it out. But you and your magic hair aren't going anywhere. You're staying right here and keeping me the fairest of them all. Fly away, fly away.
Rapunzel!
Eugene!
I discovered who you really are!
And Eugene fell to the floor.
He's dying.
Oh, well, that's the circle of life, my dear. Now come along.
Where are we going?
Where no one shall ever find you again.
We can't let him die.
We can let him live and expose our secrets.
Please, please, let me kill him, and I'll go away with you forever. I promise.
Knowing that Rapunzel never broke a promise, Mother Gothel allowed her this one last act of kindness.
I can't let you do this.
And I can't let you die.
If you do this, you will die.
And so, with his last bit of strength, Flynn grabbed Gothel's knife and cut Rapunzel's
My golden hair suddenly lost all its magic.
causing Mother Gothel to wither into a shrieking old hag.
Thou cursed brat, seest what thou hast done, for I melt, 'tis not a bit of fun. What a world, what a world, what a small world after. I'm still falling.
I see the light. Everything is different now that I see you.
And with his last breath, Eugene uttered the words,
You are my new dream.
And you were mine.
Rapunzel was heartbroken. In finding her dream, she had lost true love. All that was left was a single tear. It fell onto his cheek, and it began to glow. You see, the same magic that was in Rapunzel's hair was also present in this single teardrop. Its healing power flowed through Eugene and sprang forth, swirling through the tower room. And with that new light came new life and new love.
We returned to the kingdom and revealed Rapunzel Rapunzel as the missing princess.
At which point the king and the queen...
My real mother and father welcome me with open arms.
It wasn't long before Eugene married Rapunzel, and Rapunzel married Eugene.
And we all lived
Happily ever, ever, ever after! Dogs ladies, please give a round of applause for Princess Rapunzel! And a hearty huzzah for Flynn Rider! And let's hear it for Sir Samuel! Huzzah! And so we made a little magic game to all into part. Yes, we created us some chronicle of courage and heart. We told a fairy tale with once upon a time at the start, and had a happy ever after at the end. Happy ever after at the end. Thank you, thank you very much. I just feel outstanding, fantastic. Thank you. Come back later. We'll be here. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You can keep laughing. Don't stop laughing. Thank you.
Continuing our conversation about Fantasy Fair, I am joined now by the guy who helped bring all of that great stuff that you just heard here on the show. It is a name not unfamiliar to this show at all. I welcome Paul Berry.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. I was more than happy to send you out to check out a preview, a sneak peek of Fantasy Fair this week. And, of course, I wasn't there, so I thought it'd be best to bring you on the show and get your thoughts since you were the one seeing it with your own eyes.
I think I can do that.
Good, excellent. So, Fantasy Fair, you're walking up to Sleeping Beauty Castle. It's this big, vibrant thing off to the left side. What are your impressions walking into this new area?
Well, honestly, first off, it's not this big, vibrant thing off to the left.
Okay.
There's a lot of trees between the hub and Fantasy Fair. So it is vibrant and it is big, but it's behind the trees.
So it does not take away from sort of that vista of seeing Sleeping Beauty Castle and the hub and all of that.
Correct.
That's good.
And I was very happy to see that. So once you got a new bridge. They put in like a double wide bridge now where you can walk straight in and come right up into the center of this new area. It's actually quite nice.
So thinking about anybody who's been to Disneyland for the past many decades, and this is in the former location of the Carnation Plaza Gardens, which generally was pretty tucked away. You had to walk through this sort of tiny little bush-lined path, and then there was the area with some seats and, area for dancing and all of that, and then a lot of trees and kind of nothingness. How does this sort of, the approach to Fantasy Fair differ from that? Is it a much grander sort of entrance?
Well, it's twice as wide as the normal one. It's kind of like if they took the old entrance, which used to go underneath the sign, the Carnation Plaza sign,
right,
and kind of moved it over to the right so that it's coming a little more directly off the castle area.
Okay.
And directly in. And so when you get in, you are already past the old swing dancing
right.
area. It's near Frontierland.
Yeah,
right?
Close enough.
So you're past the old Carnation Plaza Gardens dance area.
Right.
You're actually, if you continue walking straight, you're pretty much going to go right through the pass-through and right into Rancho del Zocalo.
Okay. So now they say that this is kind of an expansion of Fantasyland. Does it really feel like that? Do you feel like you're in a part of Fantasyland, or is there a disconnect there?
Well, no, it does. It even looks like it's a continuation. They've kind of, on the right side of it, they kind of continued the castle motif over.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, a little neat bit of trivia that Terry found out while we were there, when they went in and they were pulling things out and they pulled out the old seating, they found an old turret that had been covered over for years. And
in the park.
Yeah, it's actually part of the castle, but it was completely out of guest view, and so they've never repainted it or anything. It's the original colors of the castle.
No, so it's what, blue?
It's whatever the original one was.
Right.
It was black and white, I think. But That's at least the way Walt painted it.
Yes, it was Walt's dream to have a black and white castle.
Exactly. But anyway, so there's this little blast from the past in the back behind the queue for the princess meet and greet.
So it seems like, all right, so you walk in, it feels very Fantasyland. It's got kind of the same architecture, which we heard from Michel Dulk earlier, that was kind of the whole basis of this, was to really make it blend. And you walk up and you see a giant Rapunzel tower. How does that really work in?
Well, it is. It's right in the center, because you really walk right into the center of the square. Mm-hmm. And that's where the Rapunzel Tower is. It's not huge. It's probably 20 feet tall.
So it's big, but it's not like as big as the actual tower would be.
Right. And I don't think it's anywhere near as big as the one they're putting out in Florida.
Right. Which also is not as big as it looks, but it does seem like it's bigger than that one.
Right. And so you walk in and there's this, basically it's a maypole kind of structure.
Okay.
Except it doesn't have anything hanging from it or anything. It's not really, it can't be used as a maypole. But as you walk in on the left, they've taken the dance area, and that's now the Royal Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of working left to right, you've got the Royal Theater. Set in the back, which used to be backstage area, is the store, the only store in this entire area.
Okay.
And then the pass-through. And then in that pass-through area is the exit to the princess meet and greet. And then everything from there, basically center, all the way over to the right, is all that princess meet and greet.
And the queue for it.
Yes. Yeah, that's about half of it.
Okay, so that's really the main attraction here. I mean, there's shows on the left, there's princess meet and greet on the right, and then in the middle is kind of the support.
Yeah, kind of. It's that's where the Tangled Tower is, and then that's also where Figaro is, and where the music box is, and stuff like that.
So let's get into that. Before we talk about the shows and the princesses, let's talk about sort of those two elements that are kind of the in-your-face moving elements. Figaro, an animatronic figure, seems to be up above your head. You sent over some great video of him in action. There have been a lot of comments online watching the video that we put up that it didn't look very real. It kind of looked jerky. I mean, what did it look like to you in person? Did it fit in the area well? Does it look good?
Yes, and it isn't in your face. It's a fairly large cat, but it's up. It's probably 14, 15 feet in the air.
Okay, so it's well above your head. So it looks much smaller since it's way up there.
Yes, and but it looks great for what it is. You can see, I mean, you saw from the video exactly what it is, but it doesn't look bad at all.
Right.
When I saw everybody talking about why it doesn't have hair and stuff like that, I'm like, get a hobby, because it looks great. It's fun.
It literally, when I saw the video that you sent over, it looked exactly like I thought it would, after knowing that where it was going to be, how, the fact that it was an outdoor animatronic figure, et cetera, you can't expect it to be Ursula.
Right.
It's this just sort of an extra little environmental touch. This is not like an e-ticket animatronic.
No, and it looks great, and it's something that people are going to stand there and watch. Although the refresh time on it is, I videotaped the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and matter of fact, I think about 1.5 times.
Yeah, so it's pretty quick that it goes quite often.
Yeah, it's about 30 seconds or so for the whole loop.
That's good. You're not going to get a giant crowd of people standing there waiting and waiting.
You probably will.
Well, yeah. So then there's Clopan's music box, a rare Hunchback of Notre Dame or Notre Dame item that is in the parks. Did you find that to be a little fun addition?
It was fun, and I mentioned to Michel, I believe, when we were talking off mic, that's a good way to get a workout. Because spinning that thing, you've got to turn that thing to get it to make music.
It's an interactive feature.
Absolutely, and it doesn't. If you're going slowly, it just makes that cranking noise, and it doesn't move.
Oh, really? So you really have to get it going for the music to kick up and for the little figures, the little characters to move back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun.
Now, I did see one comment on the video that you sent over on that we put up on YouTube that there's supposed to be a little cameo from the Hunchback himself up there, but you didn't actually capture that. Is he in there?
Yeah, he's there, and actually, I thought you did as we were panning down in the video as it was edited. You can see Notre Dame, and he's up there.
Oh, he's just kind of hidden in there a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's up in the church.
Okay. So it's just not as obvious. He doesn't move.
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
I was told also that there are a whole bunch of references to Disney properties in those people, including Michel, Dulk, or whatever his name is.
The Imagineer kind of behind all of this.
Yes, they actually put his face on one of the characters.
That's great.
Yeah.
I would do that if I was working on it. Sure, why not?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the cool little features, you got Figaro moving around, you've got Clopin's music box, you've got a Rapunzel tower, just an area to hang out with, but really everybody's going to be going in there to meet and greet with the princesses or see these two shows that are there. So let's go over to the Royal Hall. Describe to me sort of the approach, the entrance, and the flow through meeting the princesses.
It's quite a big queue, kind of windy, and I think we showed some of it in the video. But
yeah, it looks like it really just. I mean, it's outdoors. I guess there's no fast pass, right?
No, there's nothing in there. Although there isn't any fast pass, but it looks like there is some sort of pass through, like they were holding guests and letting the press in, and we were coming in kind of through the side. So they might be able to add that later, but I don't think so. I think they just are expecting a long line.
Right.
Yeah, and then once you get through this line, it's the first half of it's uncovered, second half is covered. Then you enter into the hall, you turn left, you come around a corner, and there is the first meet and greet. It's just right in and boom.
So there's no like a welcome area, there's no lobby, there's no anything like that?
No, it's literally in the door, to the left, turn again, turn to your right, and there they are.
So kind of the equivalent of that princess setup that's outside It's a Small World, but a nicer indoor version.
That's exactly what this is.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you go in, you come around the first thing, and the princess greets you, as you saw with Terry in the videos, and then you get your picture taken and you have your interaction, and then you basically walk around a wall, and there's Ariel. And so the first room has two princesses in it, but they've got that highly forced perspective build that they did of the building. And so it looks like she's standing in this big hall, but she's actually not. It's probably only about 10, maybe 12 feet deep.
Just
total.
This tiny little cove.
Big enough to stand, meet a princess, and get your picture taken.
And is that the flow? I mean, is there a sort of photo pass person at each one? You want to get in, maybe have one or two sentences, get your autograph, get your photo, move on?
Exactly, and it's kind of cute because they talk to the kids and whatever, and then they say, "Would you like to get a picture?" And then you take a picture with their camera, and then they say, "Can we get a picture with Cinderella's camera too?" Ah,
very nice.
Thought that was cute.
So they're not necessarily trying to upsell you on that, but playing it into the story.
Right. And then you come around, you meet Ariel or whoever Princess number 2 is,
right?
And then you actually go into the next room, and there's Princess number 3. That was Cinderella in the video, and you meet up with her, and she's got her own room, so she's got a full area that she's standing in, but it's not much bigger than the one that the previous princesses were in.
Now, did you get it looked like there was a wait time sign outside, and it looked like the princess names were interchangeable. It seems like they're going to have a rotating cast in there.
Exactly. Whoever happens to be in town will stop in and meet and greet with their subjects.
So that's part of the Fantasy Fair story. It's that this isn't the home of any of these princesses. They're just passing through in this ongoing fair that's happening daily at Disneyland.
Correct.
Okay.
And then once you are done in that room, you turn around, you walk around the corner, and you are right there at that the pass through that goes through to Rancho del Zocalo, and it doesn't actually exit you into a shop. It exits you into the pass through, and right across the way is that princess shop.
Okay, and that's what Fairy Tale Treasures.
Something like that.
Something typical Disney gift shop name, which from what I could tell from what you sent over, looked like it had a pretty standard gift shop fare.
Pretty much, yeah. It looked real nice. Of course, it's brand new.
Right. But as far as the merchandise, was there any exclusive Fantasy Fair items?
I didn't see anything.
Princess dresses, tiaras, that kind of thing.
There were a bunch of princess-specific stuff.
Right.
But nothing
the
that
usual.
I saw that said Princess Fantasy Fair or anything. No.
I'm sure they'll come out with some pins come opening day.
Of course.
All right, so meet and greet, fun. Seems like it probably will have long lines. You go over to the other side of Fantasy Fair, and this is the big former Carnation Plaza Gardens, now the Royal Theater. You certainly went to Carnation Plaza Gardens many times. What was that like walking into that area? Was there weird sort of deja vu?
No, and one of the good things and things that people will be excited about is the fact that they kept the original floor, so that floor that Walt actually danced on with Lily, that is still there.
Ah, very nice.
And what they've done is just taken they've got a whole bunch of round, like semicircular benches now that you sit on, and then the kids are up in the front in carpets that they put down on the floor. They're big circles. And so they can pull those out. They can pull out the benches, and that would open it up for something else, maybe.
Potentially. So what is going on? There are two shows currently in there. One from a Tangled show. One is a Beauty and the Beast show. But it looked like there was sort of a little bit of activities going on prior to the show times.
Yeah, it's kind of like going to see a Cirque du Soleil show. The clowns come out ahead of time. It was like the fair maidens, basically, is what I would guess they would be. And they're there. They teach the kids how to say huzzah and how to say, I want you to buy me something.
Right.
And they get them going so that during the actual production, when they say, so everyone says huzzah, all the kids down the front can say huzzah. Of course, they forget it. But,
right. That's what I was going to, if they actually remember 5 minutes later.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So now these shows, very different than what you might expect from a Disney stage show. Normally they put on the production of a show, the real musical numbers, the real lines, just kind of a condensed version of Beauty and the Beast. But these are completely different. Seems like a very sort of comedic take on that.
And it is. It's Mr. Smythe and Mr. Jones are the ones telling the stories, and then they have the princesses or whoever show up to help tell their stories. But they're very comedic and they're very fast paced and very enjoyable.
So you enjoyed both of them?
Yes, I did. The Tangled one for me was a little bit better, but I did enjoy the fact that they have Lumiere, which I understand they use the same effect in Florida for something. But to see him there and actually be a normal size candlestick was cool.
Yeah, it looked to me, now obviously I haven't seen it in person, it looked like the Lumiere out there is probably larger than the one that they have here, but sort of similar concept with how it works. But the comparisons that are being made there, it's pretty amusing seeing those of you who have either had a chance to go out to Fantasy Fair already or just simply watching the videos, which you sent over videos of both of those shows completely, which are up on YouTube now. Those who comparing it to the Enchanted Tales with Belle experience out here, which is similar. It's kind of got that storytelling motif rather than, living it as it's happening. You're telling the story of Beauty and the Beast afterwards. Everybody's saying, wow, that's so much of a better way to do it that they did at Disneyland rather than this kind of really childish version in Florida.
Yeah, well, the Florida version, the story time with Belle ended up looking like you were sitting there in kindergarten.
Yes.
And she was reading a book to you.
With giant cardboard cutouts of things.
Right. This is more like the Comedy Warehouse presents Tangled.
Okay.
So it's like I said, fast-paced, fun, and I mean, in that one part in the video where Belle Gaston comes out and Belle says, "Well, wait a second. He was had bigger muscles, and so they put fruit on his arms, and then they say, and he was taller, and so they bring him a box, and then they say, and he was a lot dumber, and the other guy goes, already got that taken care of." That's that kind of thing is happening, so not only are Smythe and Jones funny, but the princesses are too, which is great.
Yeah, and it looked like when Lumiere was coming out, they were having almost like a little reunion there, and they were like, no, we have to get back to storytelling.
Exactly. So everything's very impromptu.
Right, and that's good. It's a different type of storytelling adventure, different type of stage presence, and that's good for any theme park. I think whether it's Disneyland or out here, it's sort of nice to have a refreshing version of something and have it being appealing to all audience. It seems like the kids would get the character thing out of it and get the basic story, and then adults will get the sort of more loftier jokes.
Exactly. I was really happy with this entire area because it had everything. It had that meet and greet. It was nice. It was something cool to go see. It had the shows, which I will go back. I'm going to go back and videotape those for my own uses a couple of times. And just going back, I want to see the Tangled whatever pillar, whatever it is, light up at night.
Right.
We didn't talk about that. So.
Yeah, that's very true. And also, after each of those shows, you get a little bit more meet and greet opportunity. Belle and Rapunzel and even Flynn Rider are available, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's awesome.
And it's right there in Royal Theater. They don't like go over to the Royal Hall.
No, it's just stage left. So as you're looking at the stage to the right, they just come out there and meet and greet for as long as people want to stand there.
Anybody who's just there in the audience.
Uh-huh.
That's good. And then there's a live piano as well doing accompaniment for the shows?
Yes. As a matter of fact, all of the music you heard was actually played live by the guy on the keyboard.
And it's always good to have live music. One of those things that I guarantee if the exact same show was out here in Florida, that would be a pre-recorded track.
Yep. Disneyland does live music a lot.
It's true. All right, so
like it.
One more element before we sort of get your summary thoughts here, and that is food. Maurice's Treats is the cart that they've kind of shoehorned a little bit of a story into for the sake of having unique food there. Have you tried all of the food and drinks there?
Well, while we were there for the second media one, I didn't make the same mistake I did the first time. And this time they gave me one for free, and I bought the other two.
Okay.
And they also gave us one of the poison apples,
right,
for free as well. And I am not a fan of those frothy drinks, but this one with the boysenberry flavor was actually quite good.
So it's an apple freeze like the Cars thing and the LeFou's brew and all of that, but a bit of a different flavor.
Yeah, it's got boysenberry syrup in it,
and still the foam on top.
Yes, and so you can get your foam mustache, which they are so apt to point out. Make sure you get your foam mustache.
Right. And then so you've got a bagel twist, and then a couple of little sweet treats.
Yeah, well, the twists that they have, there's the garlic one, and then the strawberry one, and the chocolate one. Mm-hmm. And the garlic one was the only one that really wasn't dry. The other two were very pastry-like, and so everything was very, very flaky. So when you bought into it, when you bit into it, it was like, oh, give me something to drink.
Right. So even the filling wasn't enough to give any kind of moistness to it.
Right, and I made sure to mention that so that they knew that.
Were they under like a heat lamp or anything?
I didn't look. Okay. I know the ones in the front weren't, but I don't know how they're heating them in the back.
Magic.
Yeah, exactly.
They mentioned it's supposed to look like a magic wand or something. I don't think anyone's going to get that.
Probably not. I certainly didn't.
But so you wouldn't necessarily as is recommend the sweet ones, but the bagel one is a nice little snack.
Well, I would say all of them are worth a try, but at $3.50 a piece, you might choose one per visit.
Okay, and then get the drink to go along with it. Otherwise, you're going to
and a water, because you're going to need something to drink. And the apple freeze is fine, but it's sweet. So now you're dry and parched, and you're like, ew, sweet. So you need the water to get through it.
Okay, so overall impressions of Fantasy Fair, what does it add to Disneyland? Is it a good thing?
I really hate to say it, but I liked it.
Good.
I really did. I didn't think I was going to, and I mean, I won't spend a lot of time. I'm not a princess meet and greet kind of guy,
Right.
but I will be going back to see the shows and that sort of thing, and definitely going back to see the Tangled thing light up at least
somewhere, another area to enjoy and kind of pass through daytime, nighttime. Like walking by the Snow White grotto, things like that. Even if you don't do the meet and greet, don't do the shows, you can still kind of enjoy the ambiance.
Yeah, you can go, hey, look, a whole bunch of stuff and a bathroom. Good.
Speaking of which, somebody did ask, there's like a hidden bathroom over there that's still around?
As far as I know, we weren't allowed to go back in that area,
Okay.
but there is a big sign that says to Frontierland.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells me that they're still going to have it open.
Right.
Now, I don't know whether they took the bathroom out to put the shop in, but because that's where the bathroom was for the men's room was on that side. So I don't know. I'll have to look.
Well, so it officially opens March 12th, which is coming up here very rapidly. They've been doing annual pass holder previews. Of course, you were there for a media preview, and it sounds like everybody's really having a good time there, and that is a good thing. The future of swing dancing, we don't know.
Yeah, they were so non-committal. They just simply said, we don't know.
Yeah, they don't know, so we don't know, and we'll just have to wait and see on that. Well, Paul, thanks very much for sending over everything that you did. Great pictures and video, and tell Terry big thank you as well.
Sure.
Hopefully everybody out there has enjoyed it, and thanks for sharing your thoughts here, too.
And they're going to be disappointed. It's not 5 hours long.
Yes, but no. And of course, we will try to have you back more often now, not just for ear-in-review style segments here, but just to chit-chat a bit like this.
Absolutely. If you want me back, send Ricky an email and tell him you want me back. That way we know what you're thinking.
And there it is, a bit about Fantasy Faire, quite a lot about Fantasy Faire, actually. Thanks very much to Paul for chatting here, and to Terry for helping out as well with those interviews. And there's lots more over on our website. A whole bunch of photos, more video. You can see Figaro, you can see Clopan's music box, you can see a tour of the area, more interviews, and even some chats with the princesses throughout the Royal Hall meet and greets, which are pretty amusing. So head on over to InsideTheMagic.net to see even more from Fantasy Faire, also on our YouTube channel. And one final note here, of course, Fantasy Faire was first announced at the 2011 D23 Expo, and it was by George Kalogridis, then president of Disneyland, as well as Tom Staggs, chairman of Walt Disney Parks and Resorts. And while they were on stage, they said Fantasy Faire kind of in the same breath as all these other mysterious experiences: dine with Imagineers in the Haunted Mansion, and relive Circle Vision, and revisit the Tahitian Terrace, and things like that. And so now that Fantasy Faire is opening, is opening in just a couple of days, officially March 12th, leaves me wondering, when are we going to see those other ones, if we're ever going to see them? Who knows? But at least Fantasy Faire is there. Sounds like an enjoyable place to meet and greet with some princesses, enjoy some comedic shows, and just kind of hang around and have some treats, and good to have some additional area to walk around at Disneyland that's more than just a historic home of swing dancing. So thanks again to Paul and Terry, and check out the rest over on the website.
There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And despite the fact that I have a massive amount of emails to share coming off of last week's conversation with Skipper Ben about the great movie ride, so many great additional suggestions came in from so many of you this week, and I would love to share them this week, but I'm already at an hour and a half for this show, and I think that's long enough for this week, so I'm going to hold listener feedback till next week. Next week, I promised I was going to talk about the Flower and Garden Festival food, which I hope in the next few days I'll enjoy some more of that and have even further thoughts on what I've already posted over on the website, so I'll be talking about that, and I don't really know of too much else that's happening this week that I'll be talking about next week, so that'll give plenty of time to catch up on lots of listener feedback, including your thoughts on remaking the great movie ride, if that were to ever happen. If you have any additional thoughts on that, please feel free to send them in, and of course you can email about whatever you want, Fantasy Faire, etc., etc. I do want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com, and also check out the Capturing Magic iPhone app. Search for that name, Capturing featuring magic in the iTunes store. Download the apps for Walt Disney World and Disneyland to help you manage your magical moment photo-taking experiences. Also, visit us over at lanyardlab.com to see all the different styles and custom lanyard options that we have available. You can request a price quote today to receive a free digital preview of your lanyard design. And be sure to visit our website, InsideTheMagic.net, between episodes of this show. There you'll find not only show notes for this show, links, background music, all that good stuff for the podcast, but also lots of videos and photos and news and articles and much, much more. And, of course, follow us on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we are rapidly approaching 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is pretty awesome. So don't forget to check out our channel there and subscribe at youtube.com/InsideTheMagic. And so that'll do it for this week. Thanks to all of you for listening and for watching each and every week. And have a magical week. Bye.
Beautiful tomorrow, shining at the end of every day. There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, just a dream of